What's happening, everybody? How's it going today? This is Can I Get More podcast in my monitor. I am Johnny Ruckus. What's happening? I've had to just do intros for the last 3 weeks. Now I actually have to do a podcast. It's weird. I'm a little late today. I had some stuff going on yesterday, a little bit of stuff going on this morning, and actually did do a little bit of research, which is weird because I don't like researching. I like to just talk about shit. Even though I'm not a great talker, but I don't know, 3 people are listening and I appreciate it. Let's see, what, July 5th today. Hope everybody had a happy Independence Day. I hope everybody walked on their hands and their feet with all 10 toes and fingers attached. That'd always be good, especially if you're a musician. You need all your fingers and toesers. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I don't give a shit. I'm in a weird mood today. I spent a lot of time talking with a southern accent the last few days just because I was trying to make my brother-in-law laugh. And shout out to Marcus. But if you... He's the type of guy that if you are feeling bad about yourself or you just your confidence is kind of shaky a little bit, you can make that guy laugh and you automatically feel like you're the funniest fucker on earth. So thanks, Mark. I needed it. I was just saying, so, oh man, that was a thing. Oh man. And then I got that from RCPTRS. Shout out to Eric. But we did this video a long time ago when we were doing stupid 215 videos, and we did this wrestling match, this whole show, and I came out of my old van and I was bleeding. It was kayfabe bleeding. He was like, oh man, you're bleeding. So it's just been a thing. It's everything is, oh man, look at that. Oh man, it's just, I hope you laugh, but it's funny to me, and it's funny to a couple people. So I guess all that fucking matters, isn't it? Well, anyways, I'm gonna get into it. I was trying to figure out what to do for the show. I don't know if I guess I'm a procrastinator for sure, but I just don't feel it takes a long time for me to get what I want to do on the show. So I'm still not used to it. I've been, what is this? I don't know, 14th episode or whatever, but I'm still not in the creative thing of talking about shit. Cause I'm not a great talker or whatever. I don't just have a bunch of ideas jumping around my head going, oh, I'm going to talk about this. And, and actually someone's going to listen to it. That's very strange to me. So it is difficult for me to come up with topics and themes and stuff like that for the shows. So shout out again to Mark. I got a couple of new vinyls this week. I got the couple Weezer vinyls this week, and he's like, well, why don't you talk about your new vinyls? Obviously they're old albums. So I was like, I don't know if I can talk a whole bunch about the vinyl. I just got them. Kelly got me an all-in-one record player, I don't know, a month or whatever ago. So I had a record player for everybody. I never had anywhere to put it or plug it into. So I didn't have another one of those receivers. Well, this one's all-in-one, so it's super cool. And I can play vinyls on it, and I'm super excited about that, because I always liked them. But I hadn't bought vinyl in so long just because I didn't have anywhere to play it until now. So I got the Blue album and Pinkerton on vinyl. Super excited about it. 2 of my favorite albums. He's like, well, why don't you do a show about that? And I didn't think I could talk about the vinyl the whole time, but that's not really what he was asking me about. I mean, that's where it started, but then I was like, well, why don't I compare them a little bit? I can talk about them. I've listened to them both 2 or 3 times, front to back, in the last week or so. So they're all and I've listened to those albums a ton, just in my life period. So they all, they have the same amount of songs, and I thought it would just be kind of cool, just kind of talk about them, and then just kind of figure out what I like about them. Maybe what I don't like about them. I don't know. Honestly, when I was listening through and actually taking notes about each song, there wasn't a ton that I didn't like. Some of the albums after these ones, they're kind of hit or miss for me. I haven't listened to absolutely all of them, but the ones that I do have, and they got some good songs, and then they got some not so good songs, and that happens. They've released a ton of albums over the last 25 plus years, so you're gonna have some stinkers and shit. It's just the way it is. I don't. I obviously haven't written how many ever albums they have full of songs, but obviously plenty of my songs are the shits. So, so that's not what we encountered here, though. Most of them are really really strong, and very very good. They're just very good, and all together they're very good albums. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Blue album and Pinkerton. The Blue album came out in May of 1994. What day? I don't know. I don't have the day right in front of me. That's fine. Doesn't matter. And then Pinkerton came out in September in 1996. The Blue album's 42 minutes, probably some change long. And then Pinkerton comes in at 35 minutes and some change. So super short album. I'd say the Blue album's kind of a normal length. Pinkerton's probably a little short, but super short and concise. There really isn't a song. I don't even think there's a song on that goes into the 5 minutes. Maybe there is. I don't think there is. But anyways, I've listened to these. I've been listening to these for 25 years. I've been a Weezer fan since high school, since I first heard them. I don't know if Say It Ain't So was the first one or the Sweater song. Either way, always been a fan of the Sweater song. I know I've covered that. We've made different versions of it in different bands. Say It Ain't So has been covered. I know there was a time where I wanted to play Only in Dreams. It just never materialized. And we'll get into all that. That's all off Blue album stuff. But, there's a ton of just awesome stuff from Pinkerton. I know when that came out, there was a ton of people that were shitting on it. All the music critics and shit, and a lot of fans, they all shit on it. And I actually never understood that. I don't know if I had that album right when it came out. I might have. I'm not sure, but it was different for sure. They, life changes. Especially as like when the Blue album, they were not famous at all. They were just a band. And then by the time Pinkerton comes up, then there's expectations and the whole shit, and people change and all that kind of stuff. The dynamics of band change, their ideas on life change, there's a ton of shit. So there's typically a giant jump, at least with people from the first album to the second album. People either really like it and they're like, oh man, the band grew up and this is like them hitting their stride, or they fucking hate it. And that was a lot on Pinkerton. A lot of people fucking hated this album, and I actually never really got that hate. really enjoyed the album, from the first time I heard it. It's different. It's There's some goofy shit to it, and there's just some beautiful shit on it. So we'll get in on all that. So hopefully you're a Weezer fan. If you're not, I'm gonna include all the song titles and all that stuff. So here we go. The Blue album starts out with "My Name Is Jonas." If you've been a fan of Weezer or anything, obviously this is a really like kind of iconic beginning to what you hear of Weezer. It's just an acoustic. It's like a finger-picked kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it goes right into rocking out. And it does a jump back and forth between the acoustic part and then "My Name Is Jonas," and it really comes in and rocks. And the drums are, what a drum performance. That's one thing I got on my notes, is there's just, in all honesty, you're going to hear that a lot in this whole thing. The drum performance and the drum sounds are just fantastic. Patrick Wilson. And unless you can take them for granted, but until if you're listening to it, very rarely do I sit and listen and try to break down a song and what elements am I hearing that get my attention and all this stuff. So when you're just listening to this song, you're just driving in your car, or when you're a kid, you put it on the radio and something comes on. "My Name Is Jonas" wasn't on the radio, but just like a Weezer song or whatever, you kind of take some of the stuff for granted. And Patrick Wilson's performances on these albums is something that I've really took for granted. They're not the most difficult parts, but goddamn are they good, and they're perfect. So who gives a shit how difficult they may be, but they have a vibe to them and just great fucking performances. So that's one thing for sure, that "My Name Is Jonas" has a great performance in the drums. And the vocals, of course, are great. Everything's awesome on it. The acoustic intro is really like and then the acoustic intro, and then going into the rocking parts and coming back and forth on that is a big signature part of this song. And it's the first taste that we get from Weezer. And that is an element of Weezer, all the way through, all the way through at least these two albums and into their, albums afterwards. So, and then on Pinkerton, the first song is "Tired of Sex." I remember hearing this song a long time ago and having to figure out the riff. The riff is so fucking badass. I get excited and I get happy and I headbang to it every time I hear it. I don't care if it's, it doesn't matter. Every time I hear it, I just get jacked up. The riff is just fucking amazing. And the song starts out with, just a great drum sound. I think the drum sound on Pinkerton is way better than the one on the Blue album. The drum sound was really good on the Blue album, but I think the drum sound on Pinkerton is just it's really just giant. It's bombastic. And the performance is, consistent all the way through. I'm going to say that a bunch. I'm just going to say it again. The drum sounds are huge. So you get this weird kind of intro where you get the, you start on the bell, the ding, 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 ding. And there's just noise happening in the guitars, and then it kind of morphs into a melody with the guitar through the feedback. And then the bass kicks in. What a bass sound. Just tremendous bass sound on this. And it's so tight between the bass and the drums. And then Rivers comes in, I'm tired. And then there's a build up all the way through where it's not a full band really until after the first chorus, because it just builds up through the whole chorus. and then into the post-chorus and then into the second verse, everybody's just drawn down, 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 down. Just a awesome, awesome riff. So go listen to Tired of Sex. It super awesome riff, tremendous drum sound and performance. The bass tone is on point, and it just is super energetic recording, and you just can't help but just groove on it. So I'm going to pick Tired of Sex between the two. You know, the first, My Name is Jonas of Tired of Sex. I'm picking Tired of Sex as my favorite between the two. So then in the second song, No One Else is on the Blue album. You know, it's kind of a typical Weezer song. I wrote that down in my notes a couple of times, and that isn't like a dig. It's just when you hear like how the guitars and everything go together, you can be like, oh, that's Weezer. You could tell right away. And this is already established kind of in the second song here on the Blue album, which is the second song, you know, on the album that they released first. So you can kind of, okay, this is kind of what this band is about. It's a super tight, kind of, it's a little fuzzy at the same time. I think the Pinkerton guitar tone was more fuzzy, but it's still Weezer. You know, it changes a little bit, which is fine. But it's like a typical Weezer song, No One Else. In the first, maybe at least into the first chorus, the vocals, there's not a lot of range there. He stays in one spot, which is kind of a thing that Rivers does quite a bit. And then it kind of gets a little bigger, and he expands a little bit in the chorus, you know, towards the end of it, and then he comes back down, and then kind of towards the end, it's expanding more and getting bigger. So he likes to use that technique a lot, which is really cool, but it's typical Weezer. You know, it's got dueling leads on it, which is sweet. You know, as a guitar player, you're always happy hearing dueling leads. You know, they're not like Avenged Sevenfold leads or anything like that, but you can hear that they're in the same realm. And a lot of times Weezer, they'll have two solos or leads, and they're doing about the same thing, but then they're doing their own thing at the same time, and somehow it still works. So it's a neat thing that they've figured out there. And then on Pinkerton, the second song is Get You. And it's spelled Get You. I don't know. I always thought that was funny. And maybe you just laugh there. And if you didn't, well, you know, fucking laugh every once in a while. Jesus. The guitars on this, they're loud and fuzzy. There's a lot more fuzz on Pinkerton. You know, just a little. It's a signature on that on Pinkerton. This is the record. It's a little bit more fuzzy. Again, the drum sound. You know, they have great harmonies in the song, and they're not out there harmonies, but they work for the song. They make the choruses typically bigger, but he does do there are quite a bit in the verses as well. But you know, great harmonies on this. The energy in the chorus with the big drums, the different hits, that's just a little bit different than a lot of the other Weezer songs. So it brings a lot of energy in the chorus, and it's got a super noisy solo, which they did quite a bit on Pinkerton. A little bit on the Blue album, but not nearly as much. That was a lot. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if concise solo is the what I'm looking for, but they definitely expanded, just kind of making a lot of noise and stuff through their solos, and it's really cool. It's not over the top, but at the same time, they're really neat. And then the ending of that song, I might have to put the ending on on this podcast version here. I'll see if I can just kind of edit it in a little bit and just kind of let you know a little bit, what I'm talking about. But the ending is really rad. And between the two, I got Get You as my favorite between those two songs. So a couple for Pinkerton on the first few here. And then let's see, the third song, but on both albums. Let's see, on the Blue albums, The World Has Turned and Left Me Here. I pretty much had my mind made up of which song was my favorite between the two before I even listened to them. Yeah, I tried not to do that, but there are just certain songs I'm like, yeah, that's going to be my favorite between the two. It almost doesn't matter between what the other song is. And the world has turned and left me here. I can speak real great. It's got the acoustic guitar intro, and then also in the outro, the vocal performance, as well as the kind of droning of the guitars. They're not, Weezer didn't have super expressive guitar performances as far as in the rhythm side of it. They're normally very straightforward. And this is not an exception. It's very droning, but that sets a base where the leads can happen, and then there's a lot of room for the vocal melody. So that then creates, with the droning kind of guitar and the melody, it creates a very haunting yet beautiful thing. And that's what happened. That's what I feel a lot in this song. It's very haunting, but it's also a very beautiful song. And it's got great vocal work. Rivers on the whole song is a great performance. And then the harmonies in it are awesome. They're just great. There's nothing else, on that. It's a definitely vocal driven song that leads the way, and then the drums are actually the most expressive part of the music, really, except for the leads maybe. But the guitars kind of have they drone at this spot, it's kind of middle, and then the drums between the changes, when he changes between the hat and the crash or the ride cymbal, he's the one that is kind of dictating where the different parts were. So if you were just kind of not paying attention to it, you'd be like, wow, is this all the same riff the entire way through? And it's not, but there is a riff theme all the way through, and then the drums kind of dictate where the changes are. It's a really beautiful song. No other one is Pinkerton and the counterpart here. It's got a fun, noisy intro to it. It kind of has it's goofy and kind of carnival-like. I might be able to put a little bit on the podcast part, but it's a goofy, it's kind of a strange beginning. So you can think oh, this is kind of weird. There's certain spots that Weezer has. they always had a little, especially in these records, they had a playfulness to them. Blue Album maybe a little bit more, and I think that's what a lot of people shit on when they first heard Pinkerton. Is like, oh, they're getting darker and they're getting more serious. And I guess in the themes of the songs that can be correct, but there's a lot of like kind of goofy shit that's like, oh, and when I say goofy shit, I don't mean that in a bad way. They just do some weird things, and we'll hit that a little bit later. Like when we talk about El Scorcho and stuff like that, it's like, that's weird, but in a good way. And then now that you think about it, you think back, you're like, yeah, that's a weird way, but in a Weezer way. So that makes sense. So no other one has that beginning. The drums, again, awesome performance. There's nothing I can say about that really more than there's awesome work here from both guitars. Rivers, I think, tends to be hard right, and then Brian Bell ends up being hard left typically, and sometimes it changes. But that's for the most part, that's what that is, and you can really tell the difference in their guitar playing, but still how it intertwines and works together. It's a pretty neat thing. It also has kind of a waltzy feel. Not terribly, but it definitely has a different rhythm feel than just about any, especially in this era, any other Weezer song. Dun, 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 kind of thing, rather than just like a 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. We're driving. So it's a different thing, and it's neat. So there's no, what are we, 3 songs in on each record? There's no like weak point here, but The World Has Turned and Left Me Here, I kind of had my mind made up before, I even started writing words down for my notes. I knew that was kind of going to be my one between, and that's nothing against no other one. But The World Has Turned and Left Me Here is one of my favorite Weezer songs, so I can't get around that. All right, following along here, and I'm sure a lot of people know these albums, so this isn't a surprise. Buddy Holly's next. What can you say? When you saw the video, it was hilarious. With the Happy Days theme, but they go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's right into the intro. Dun, dun. What with these homies? It's right away. There's no intro. It goes, we're fucking going, and here it is. And that sets it up for just something different. It catches your attention right away. Especially if you don't know Weezer, and all of a sudden hear that, like, oh, geez, oh. It hits you right in the face in the best way possible. This has one of the staples of Weezer guitar playing, where it's use of compound chords. I didn't really know what those were until I started listening to Weezer and figure out how they play it. So basically it's like, let's say you're going to play a 5 chord, a D, so you're on the A string, 5th fret, and you're going to play a power chord. Well, a compound chord is then you also add that A on the 5th fret of the E string in the bass part. So then you get a lower part, and it makes a really like giant chord. And it makes and then when you pair that with a bass playing a D on it, it's a really neat kind of feel to it. And Weezer, that's part of their jam, for sure. They use that all the time, and this is no exception here. Great vocal performance all the way through. There isn't a weak part of the vocal performance. catchy as hell. There's a reason why this song was one of them that, made them famous for sure. Obviously a great video. In that time, that's what, they played videos on MTV. It wasn't all Real World and Jersey Shore and shit. They actually played music videos and they actually broke bands. If you had a great video, back then, you're going to be a star and you're going to sell a lot of records and you're going to make a lot of fucking money. And Body Hop definitely was not one of that did it here. Great start to the song, punch you right in the face. Catchy vocals all the way through. Great performance. The leads are really neat between the two. This is actually a song that isn't. It's Weezer, but it's a different Weezer, different kind, because they did different shit, like by adding leads and stuff between it, and the way the guitar sounds, and then they were using an organ with the guitar to make the leads, so the guitar sounded like an organ a bit, and then the organ also sounded like guitar. How they mixed it, it was really cool. So listen to that if you haven't really paid attention to it. It's really neat. They got plenty of guitar leads in this. Coming out of this solo, they have they're doing the solo, and then there's a break, and then it finishes the solo in it. Dude, it's so awesome. So awesome. It comes out of the bridge. So they have a bridge and a solo in the song. And it's still like 3-some minutes long. I don't know how the hell they did that. I can't. It's hard for me to do that. And then just like to wrap it up at the end, the last like the last outro or the last chorus song, they have hand claps. So you not only have like this, you got the video that looks like Happy Days. And then I know Rivers, he always said he wanted to make a band that combined the Beach Boys and Sonic Youth. And, it's with the hand claps at the end. It's just a neat little thing, like an old school thing, like a 60s thing that, maybe like the Beach Boys would have done. So it's a neat little ode to what he was looking at. Pinkerton, next song is Why Bother? It's super short. It's 2 minutes and 8 seconds long. It's got a ton of energy to it. It blasts all the way through. It's got 2 minutes long. You should. I know it's a fun song. The bass line is really cool in it, and then the bass tones throughout are awesome. But the bass line in it is really cool. If you're comparing the two, there is no comparison. Why Bother it's strange that that's what it's called. Because if you're comparing the two, Why Bother? It's Buddy Holly. And that's not shitting on Why Bother, but as far as like strong songs, it's a fun song, it's a good song, but yet it's still kind of a filler song. It's just a shade over 2 minutes long. And I don't know if that, that's probably, there's no fat on that song though. So that's cool. So you rifle through it and it's a great song to listen to, but if you compared it to, it's Buddy Holly all the way. All the way. Okay. Number 5. Undone, the Sweater Song. I don't know if this is the first song that they released or if it was Say It Ain't So. I don't actually know the order here of what they released singles. I'm actually going to look it up right now. Maybe. Where are you here? I know. I'm just talking to myself. That's really strange. I'll find it. You can relax. Doesn't matter. There it is. Singles. Okay, so the Sweater Song was number one. It was the first song that they released. What an iconic intro. You know, cha-cha, doom, cha-cha, doom, cha-cha, doom, 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 doom. You're just like, it sets the it sets the tempo, it sets the feeling of the song. It kind of lulls you because it's like just kind of dreamy. And the drums are, it's just, snares on 2 and 4, the bass drums on 1 and 3, ride cymbal, kind of lulls you into this little cloudy feeling. And you got these little bit of ad libs from this. I don't know if they just did that or if they got that from a movie or something. I have no idea. But just people talking about going to a party, and then it's just, oh me, baby, it just goes right into it. It's all one level at this moment. Super catchy right out of the gate. Great vocal performance. It's real chilled out. And then the drums, then the chorus happens and just explodes. It gets super loud. And then it comes back into this little lull you into, just this groove with the guitar, and the drums are all in one spot. And then they have another little section where, it's talking about, what these people are talking about. And then if you want to destroy, the first chorus, it's just a half, and then the second chorus, they do the whole thing. And then the solo happens. And what's actually really cool about this solo is it changes key. So I think it goes up. If I remember right, I think it goes up a half a step going in the chorus, and it starts right away. As soon as they do the, they change it just a half step up, which is a really cool feature. A little bit of a key change. And then when it comes back in, they bring it back down to G. It goes from G sharp to G. Out of the solo, back into where the singing and everything happens. And then the last chorus has like the dueling vocal things. So there's actually 2 different choruses using the same melody. The one that you hear, if you want to destroy my sweater, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's the one you hear. Then there's the other parts. If you want to destroy my tank top, let's be friends and just walk away. So they're using the same melody line kind of, but putting it together, and like, it's hard to kind of understand the other one, but if you know it, you're like, what the hell's going on there? So it's a really neat thing. And then there's just crazy ending. Bunch of like soloing, kind of like just making noise and just craziness. Where the hell did that come from? Super rad. I don't even know where that came from. So, okay. Yeah, and that's an iconic song. Everybody knows that song. And then number 5, on to Pinkerton, onto a song that I don't know if people know. There's a lot of people know. I shouldn't say that, but like, as far as the, if you go, hey, who Weezer is, the Undone the Sweater song, if you want to, oh yeah, I know that song. Do you know Across the Sea by them? No. I've never heard that. I've never heard that before. So you probably get that a lot. And going into this, sometimes you just kind of forget like what songs. I've heard Undone the Sweater song, and like I said before, I've covered it. I've made different versions of it. Played in a whole bunch of different, played in a couple of different bands. So it's like it's in there in my head. My head is there. It's in there. So then when I listen to Across the Sea, and I see that they're number 5 on each album, I go, this should be easy. Should be an easy think between the two, right? This one was really tricky. I always forget for whatever reason how much I love the song Across the Sea of Pinkerton. It almost seems like it should be a ballad. And actually, it has this vibe at the beginning. I even wrote it down. It's a fuzzed out ballad. And then I had to write down, but it's upbeat. So it's a very weird thing. You could, in a parallel universe of this song could be a ballad, and Rivers could probably play acoustic, or they could probably write a piano arrangement of this song, and it would probably be really powerful. It's very strange. So that was the first note that I made. Then the next note I said was typical Weezer. And again, I kind of said that before, but that's where the guitars are kind of, they play straight forward, and you hear a part of it and you're like, that's Weezer. Good old Weezer, But those were like early parts that I wrote down. And then wrote down that the main riff, this is another Weezer thing where they do the guitars hard left and hard right. And the guitar, which I'm pretty sure is Rivers, is hard right. So you got the bass and the drums more or less right up the middle, as well as the vocal. And then the guitar comes hard right. So there's this big gap on the left side if you're listening. And there's really not anything happening on that left side in the verses. It's very, it's fuzzy guitar, but it's very dry. There's no reverb on it. You got the drums and the bass really locked in together, like they always have to be, but especially how Weezer did it. And then the chorus happens and the guitar comes in on the left and just makes the damn thing giant. And then the chorus happens and then the verse comes in again and then it's just back to the right. So it's just really this it'll kind of whack you out a little bit. But at the same time, it's like when that chorus hits, it just makes it giant. And then in the bridge, I didn't write down all the details of it, but I did write down that I think there's a lead happening in the bridge, and there's a piano as well as the guitar, the lead guitar, doing the lead line together. It's a neat, not weird touch, but in rock and roll, it's kind of a weird touch, especially at this time. just little extra things in it. They did the organ on one earlier. They did that on Buddy Holly. And then you got a piano working with the guitar in the bridge. And then when the third verse comes, it's no longer just a guitar and the right. They both are playing, and they're both playing the same thing. So this last verse is just fucking giant. And then somehow with how the vocal performance was and the drum performance on this song for sure is just outstanding. Just a tremendous band performance, period. And it's one of my favorite Weezer songs. And it's like one I almost forget about because it's not like burned into my skull like the Sweater Song would be. But then I listen to it and I go, fuck, man, I love this song. I'm going to try to put a little bit of this in the post if I can. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll be able to throw in a little bit in there. I just won't be able to do a whole lot. And it won't be super loud, but. So on paper, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be, I'm going to pick the Sweater Song. And, I'm going to have some notes for both. The Sweater Song is going to have more, and Across the Seas, there's nothing wrong with that song. But, it's undone, man. It's a Sweater Song. And even, what I did with this is I listened to each song in succession. So, I played Undone, the Sweater Song. Then I turned and I put on Pinkerton and I put Across the Sea. I played them back to back. So I was just doing 1-1, 2-2, 3-3. And this was one that I couldn't make a decision on. I didn't make a decision until after I listened to the whole album. And I actually listened to Across the Sea again. And I had these little arrows. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on my, it shows up. I got an arrow pointing to Undone, the Sweater Song. But now that I'm thinking about it, it really almost pains me. Because Undone, the Sweater Song is like, it's just in there. It's in there, man. I am switching my vote. I'm going to do it right here. Scratch it out. I'm putting Across the Sea as getting the nod. Which means that I got to change my shit at the end here. I changed my mind just talking about it right now. So that's how close these songs are. And I fucking love the Sweater Song. I think everybody loves the Sweater Song. But damn, Across the Sea is so fucking good. It's so good that I think I'm voting for, in my poll of nothingness here on the Can I Get More Podcasts on my monitor poll, I'm going to vote for Across the Sea. And that's weird. It feels weird to me. But it is what it is. So that's what we do sometimes. We, the royal we. All right, moving on. So this would be number 6. Surf Wax America. Surf Wax America. It's got just a driving song the entire time. It's got a really cool intro. It's kind of like a 4 on the floor kind of drive where it just, the entire way. Super catchy. It's really super fun. It's got a lot of energy through the whole thing. Great bridge in it. All along the undertow. Na, 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 na. I never thought it would come to this. Now I can never go home. And and then there's a harmony that comes in it. A really neat part. And then it breaks down towards, before going back into the last chorus and last section of the song, where it's just like a bass, but it kind of almost sounds like a keyboard because it seems really smooth for being a bass, but it very well could have been a bass. It's kind of hard to tell. Got a little bit of a keyboard quality, but it really brings down like super low, and then it explodes back in and finishes the song up. It's a really great song for sure. And then it goes to The Good Life on Pinkerton. It's another one of those songs that's kind of typical Weezer song. Put it on. Yeah, that's Weezer. Okay, we're listening to Weezer. Awesome. What a fantastic fucking bass tone on this song. Really great bass tone for sure. That's a kind of a constant on this whole Pinkerton for sure. I mean, the bass tone in he uses kind of an overdriven, I think, as a P bass tone. But the drum tone and then the bass tone on Pinkerton is really hard to beat. Really hard to beat. The vocals are kind of low. Well, the vocals I shouldn't say are low key, but they have low key backing vocals, and they push them hard left, which is kind of a neat thing because normally the vocals are up center, but they then push the Rivers backing vocals. He does kind of these really low key things. It's actually in quite a few Weezer songs. It's another one of those Weezer-isms. We'll call it that for the sake of this. But Rivers really like to put really low key in the mix backing vocals that just add a little bit. They don't have as much energy, as much gusto as the main one. They don't follow exactly. They might be tailing just a little bit. Maybe the delivery isn't like right on it, but it works. So it's got a great chorus, beautiful chorus. And then the solo section is really cool. There's this big solo section where it's rocking, and then they break down. It breaks down. The instrumentation comes down, and then there's a piano as well as a slide guitar doing the rest of the lead, or the rest of the solo. Just brings it real far down. It's awesome. The dynamic changes so great. And then all of a sudden it comes back up. It's really neat. It's a good song. Surf Wax America. I can't really vote against it. Just a rockin' song. It's 3 minutes long. Just blast through. Okay, next one. Number seven. Say It Ain't So. It's got another iconic intro. You instantly know this song. Just the dry bones guitar. It's a little bit overdriven. Nothing too, mostly clean. Just a little bit of hair on it. Hum it along. Great bass work. The bass line is one of the driving factors in this song. It's got just everything. The entire performance of this song, there is not one weak point to it. This is one of my favorite songs, period. Not just Weezer songs, but just if I were to make like a top 10, and I don't know if I could actually make a top 10 of songs, it would be on my top 10. because I absolutely adore this song. It's a great performance all the way to the bass. The bass work, is excellent. The drum work, then how they work together is just right in the pocket. There's these great guitar fills in between the like the verses and into the pre-choruses and stuff like that. Just really cool. Really cool things. A lot of different guitar work in this song. Little jangly strat kind of lines. It's got twin vocals. There's a lot of twin vocals in the song, but definitely in the verses is one of it. That chorus, that first chorus, they hang it out there. Dun, 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 dun. Say it ain't so. But there's a ton of space in the first one. And then by the time you get into the second chorus, then you get the dan dan wow down, you get the bends in it, giant, saying it's, that's it's just like, geez, this worked. It just worked, You got like after the first chorus, you got like this post-chorus little guitar solo. It's this little jangly thing. Just what a fucking tremendous goddamn performance. All the way across the board. Just ridiculous performance. I don't know if I don't think I'm overselling this thing at all. I don't think you could oversell it. And then there's one of my absolute favorite fucking parts is right at the end, it's coming out of the solo. There's this snare fill. I'm not even going to do it justice or even close to justice if I hum it through the mic. So I'm going to see if I can kind of put that in there. Gotta write down my number here. Yeah, I'm doing shit on the fly. It's my show. I can do what I want, right? No one's listening. Shout out to RJ Styles. That fill. It's just a snare fill, but holy shit. It is so awesome. I want to hum it because it's so fucking awesome, but I'm not going to do it justice. So I'm not going to do it. All right. El Scorcho is the Pinkerton counterpart. And god damn it, I love this fucking song too. It's goofy as shit. It's weird. It sounds weird. There's parts where it sounds a little off kilter. Maybe a little out of tune. But fuck is it fun. And then just the beginning. Doom, 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 doom. This goofy drum solo, this drum fill at the beginning. It's so silly. And then this quirky guitar line of doom, 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 doom. I know I'm just murdering it with humming it, but I don't give a shit. All of these things. It's goofy, it's weird, it's jangly, and it's still super catchy. It gets stuck in your head, and you can't get away from it. And one thing that's really cool, a little thing that you wouldn't notice, there's a lot of ringing going on in the bass drum on this song because there's a ton of room for it. There's a ton of room for it. And there's a ring that goes through the entire first verse. I'm not sure. I think it's coming part from the bass drum, and they could have done something where the reverberation from the floor tom that he first hits at the beginning reverberates through the entire first verse. So there's like this humming through the entire first verse. It's really interesting. And you don't really catch it, but it's really neat and I like it. It's just one of these really these little tweaks that if you're not listening for it, you won't hear it. And if it wasn't there, you wouldn't miss it. But if you heard it and then all of a sudden it wasn't there, then you would miss it. So another one of these little parts, the drum performance through the whole song, again, carries a song, as well as the bass tone. Man, there was a ton of room for that bass to carry a lot of the tonality of it. And then they put like this punk rock part in the middle, which up to this point, Weezer didn't have songs that had little parts like that. Like Surf Wax America was like a punk song, but had a different feel. That was like the snare on 1 and 3, whereas this one is like a super fast, just this little part right in the middle of the song. So neat. I love the how cool is that? So out to your room and read your diary. I love this part. This is really neat. A great chorus. It's just a fun song. You can't help it but smile when you listen to the song, And if it was anywhere else, just about anywhere else on the album, like if I wasn't comparing Say It Ain't So and El Scorcho would be like the winner or whatever you want to call it. But it's up against Say It Ain't So and it can't win. So obviously I got to pick Say It Ain't So. It's one of my absolute favorite songs of all time. El Scorcho is one of my favorite Weezer songs of all time, but Say It Ain't So is the wiener. All right, so we got In the Garage is next. And there's a lot of parts to this that are typical Weezer, and then it starts different. It's got a harmonica with an acoustic guitar that does like this finger picking part. And it does all this. And then the song comes in. All the instrumentation comes in. But you got this super duper fuzzed out guitar just in the right speaker. Bass drums and vocal up the middle. There's nothing else coming out of the left speaker. So there's no guitar. It's all one-sided. And it is just fuzzy as shit. Super catchy. Again, it's Weezer song. It's going to be catchy. But, it is one of the elements. Typical Weezer, right? There's a spot in the post-chorus that it's like a super fuzzy guitar lead. Well, actually what it is it's the intro, but the harmonica line is doubled by the super fuzz guitar in the right speaker. So you hear the acoustic guitar and the harmonica coming out of the left and this super fuzzy guitar coming out of the right that is mirroring the harmonica lead, if you want to call it that. And it's really cool. It's a really rad thing. The bass tone that they got on this thing, again, pretty amazing. It's got a great solo. There's vocals and harmonica all like intertwined in it. It's really neat. The drums pick up the song towards the end. I think he goes into the like a crash cymbal, towards the end. Really builds it up and then finishes off strong. And then on Pinkerton, we got Pink Triangle. It's got an acoustic, it's, I don't know if they did this on purpose. Sometimes it's too strange to be coincidence. But this song has an acoustic start. I don't think this one's finger-picked. Actually, it might be. But either way, then it's got a slide guitar instead of the harmonica, they're using slide guitar. And all of a sudden it goes into rockin'. Typical Weezer song right? And then throughout the verses, there's slide leads in this song. Rather than just doing regular, guitar leads, they're actually using the slide guitar. So it's a different wrinkle, than a lot of the typical Weezer songs. You got different elements to it, which is really cool. There's a great kind of 2-part chorus where the chorus is going one way and then all of a sudden it changes, but it's still the chorus. It's kind of a neat songwriting trick. The drums are fucking amazing on this song. Again, it's been a theme through the whole time, but the drum performance on Pinkerton, man, amazing. They're just great. Some of my favorite ones, obviously. If you haven't got this, I like the fucking drum sound on Pinkerton, I love one of my favorite lines through this whole thing is everyone's a little queer, why can't she be a little straight? That's awesome. Again, bass tone's great. The solo in has got it's a dueling solo. And again, like I mentioned for one of the other songs, they're off doing their own things, but they're in the same realm and they share different parts. Super fuzzed out. It's really neat. The last chorus features like a halftimey part to it. It really brings it down. And then it picks back up and explodes towards the end. And then, it works out great at the end. This is one of those ones again where on paper, I kind of had it made up on my mind where it was going to be in the garage. And then I listened to Pink Triangle again. Because, when you listen to the albums, you're not comparing between the two when you're just listening. But in this realm, I'm going to compare the two. So then I had to listen to it as this versus that. In the garage versus Pink Triangle. I picked Pink Triangle. And I didn't think I would. I didn't think that was going to happen just on paper. I listened to them back to back, and I was like, "Oh, I love In the Garage. I love it, but I really love Pink Triangle. It's an amazing song. Again, another one of these hidden ones, right? All right, next one, number 9 is going to be Holiday. This is, again, it's a more of a typical Weezer song. There's a lead guitar line intro, which is really cool. It's a little different, but it settles into the driving Weezer thing. Again, put it on. Oh, that's a Weezer song for sure. Great drum performance. A lot of these, like I said before, is if you're not looking at it, they just kind of take them for granted. But then you listen to them looking for elements to pick out, and you're like, Jesus, that's a great drum performance. So this is a very awesome drum performance. Super, It carries the song pretty much. This is a fine song. There's nothing groundbreaking about it. This is almost, to call it a filler song, I think puts like a negative connotation to it. But I think out of all the songs on the album, I guess this one would be the filler song. And again, it's not that it's cruddy or anything. Just over 3 minutes, or about 3.5 minutes. It's a good song, but nothing to write home about. Pinkerton, it's Falling for You. There's an acoustic intro, and then it goes into rockin'. Typical Weezer, right? A lot of these elements that I've taken and done over different parts in my writing song career. Catchy chorus. I really like the leads a lot. There's the fuzzy tone of it. The leads are really, really good in this song. There's dueling leads in it. I don't think this one has the ones where they kind of intertwine. I think they just kind of follow each other, I think, in this one. Can't quite remember all the intricacies right off the top of my head, but again, another stellar drum performance. Stellar drum performance again. Falling for You. Not a filler. So you got to have filler song versus not a filler song. Well, the not a filler song has to win. So Falling for You, definitely. Last song, Only in Dreams. This is a 8-minute song. The last 2.5 minutes of it, maybe even 3, is all building on the same theme that is followed all the way through the track. And this is one of my favorite Weezer songs. It has been since forever. I had a band way back a long time ago that we were going to try to cover this, and it just never came to fruition. But just a great bass line to start. Doom 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 doom. Starts out with that fantastic tone. Maybe just a little bit of hair on it, not much. It's pretty straightforward, and then it comes with a acoustic chordal part over that, and then there's a lead part that comes out of the right. So I'm pretty sure it's Rivers. It's on the electric, and it's got a little bit of dissonance to it. It's a neat part, and it all comes in very beautifully together. And then when the vocals come in, it's very, it's really down here. On the video, you can see my hand, but it's low. It's a low key, with the bass and the drums. The drums are just doing like a 2/4 thing. It's very low key. Great vocal performance. It doesn't go too high. It starts really low as well, and then builds and builds. And then, it's got kind of a laid back first chorus. Kinda. It's rocking, but Rivers stays in the same area that he starts the song in. So it's not super expressive. It stays all in one spot, one level, kind of. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but once you get to the second chorus, then there's more expression out of the vocals. There's more harmony going. And then it explodes to this giant middle section where the drums, you can just, he's really fucking killing them. Hi-hats wide open, really just beating the absolute shit out of these things, and they are going crazy. And it's a really giant high point in the song. And then they bring it way down. And that's kind of where the singing ends. You know, you're somewhere around 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes, somewhere in there, the singing stops, and they kind of bring this thing way down, where it's just back to bass. And there's some noisy guitar happening in the background, but it's all down into the bass, and that noise disappears. And then they start bringing this thing back up, and it just, there's some vocals, and then the drums, and he's not beating the crap out of them. And they build this thing for like more than a minute. It's just going on a straight direction up, and it's perfect, and it's beautiful, and just the patience. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. And then it explodes back into the outro. Then the outro lasts for like 2.5 minutes. They're just going crazy in this thing. There's leads going on, noise going on, just this fantastic thing happening. And then it ends up at just it's 7:59, so call it 8 minutes. It ends, and then that ends the Blue album. So that's your first exposure to Weezer. Fuck. You hear songs on the radio, you see the video, and then you listen to the record, and you're like, geez, it's so good. It's one of my... the Blue album is definitely one of my favorite albums, as well as Pinkerton is. Their first two are definitely two of my favorite records, for sure. And there's a lot of stuff that I've taken from Weezer, ideas and feels and stuff like that, and I've put them into my own music, throughout my life. The last song on Pinkerton is called Butterfly. This is definitely a far... this is about as far away from Weezer as you've seen up to this point. It's an acoustic song. It's just Rivers and an acoustic, and he starts singing right away. As soon as the song starts, he starts singing right away. There's a bass drum in the second verse that starts. It just kind of gives you a little bit of like a rhythm to it, just a tick. That's all it is just a bass drum. It's not like this big thumpy thing. It's just, it could almost have been, it could have been someone playing on the back of an acoustic guitar even, just hitting it. Otherwise they're able to get the bass drum to sound not too boomy, not too big. So there's a lot of different things it could have been. Yeah, definitely couldn't have been a back of an acoustic guitar. I didn't think of that at the time when I was making these notes. But so one of my favorite lines through this is every time I can read my writing. Every time I pin down what I want, it slips away. It's like, it slips away. He's super delicate. I totally murdered it right there. I'm going to apologize for Rivers for trying to sing it like that. But one of my favorite parts, or part of the song, it really slows down because he's just kind of controlling, because he's not playing to a click track, he's not doing anything like that. He's just playing the song and singing. So he slows it down, and at the end he's saying, I'm sorry a few times. And it's beautiful and it's haunting. It's a great performance of a song. They were able to capture a great performance of the song. And it's kind of tucked in at the end of this album, where you can forget about it. And then it's the end of the record. So it's tucked in there right at the end, and you can completely forget about it, but it's not a forgettable song. It's just where it's positioned. It needed to be positioned there. It's a great ending to the record. Goofy record. The tones on it are great. And then a perfectly, beautifully haunting performance at the end of it to tie it all up. Yeah, I said it. I love the drum sound on Pinkerton. It's another one of those things, you take it for granted. I didn't realize how much I love the drum sound till I'm breaking it down going, fuck, I really love this drum sound. It's giant. It's natural sounding. Patrick Wilson's a great drummer. He's not flashy, but damn is he fucking good, and he makes everything better. Every song was better, So definitely hats off to Patrick Wilson, and then Rivers Cuomo for writing all the songs. But like Matt Sharp, his bass performance, everybody's performance at Brian Bell, their performance on these records is fantastic. I think Brian Bell came in like right before they were going to record the Blue album, or as they were recording it, or something like that. I thought I read something like that. I'm not sure if I'm right on that. Doesn't matter. So he wasn't with the group very long. But these two records are before I do that, Only in Dreams. I got to pick Only in Dreams because it's fucking awesome. Nothing against Butterfly, but Only in Dreams is where it's at. Yeah, two great records. I don't know what else you can say about it. They're fucking awesome. And I love them both in different ways, but as a band in general, these records from Weezer are very influential in my music. I've taken a lot of elements, the compound chords, again with the use of dynamics, that I got from Nirvana. Same kind of idea here, So they're great albums. Actually, the Split, now that I changed my mind on Undone, they're 50-50. They're 5-5. I had the Blue album by one. I was 6-4. Well, by two, whatever you want to call it. 6-4. But I evened them out now. And that was not, as much as I love Pinkerton, that wasn't something I thought that was going to happen. You can love albums and then just, that's kind of a lot of lines of like Nevermind In Utero. Whereas I love In Utero. Absolutely love that record. It's my favorite one of theirs. But on a single song-by-song basis, Nevermind might be more strong. There might be more songs. It's just weird. You can split the songs up just look at them one-on-one and you'd be like, okay, that's a better song than that. That's a better song than that. But for some reason, when I play it from front to back, I enjoy this one better. Or, it's strange how that all works out. There's just something that happens when they're all played together and how you feel it all and how it all works in your brain where it works out. And I love both of these records equally. It would be hard to pick one on any given day of, today I could like the Blue album more, and then tomorrow I could listen to Pinkerton and be like, no, I like Pinkerton better. I like the vibe of Pinkerton a lot. I think a lot of the sounds I like a little bit better. They're different though. They're different records by the same band at different spots in their lives 25 years ago. Well, that's it for this week. I appreciate it. I apologize for it being a little bit late. I normally release midday on Sundays, but this is going to be later afternoon, evening, whatever, on Sunday. I'm actually probably thinking the video is going to be out on Monday, but that's fine. So definitely appreciate everybody listening. I know it's been a little bit longer when I wasn't sure how long this was going to be, but it's about an hour and a half. And that's all right. So this has been Can I Get More Podcast in My Monitor? I am Johnny Ruckus. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good day. Bye now.